Hey guys, this is just one guy, and this is the developer's log for Dragonforged. Now I believe this is episode 4, and I finally got to start working on the NPCs. Now this should be fun. Now the first thing I started working on was the movement, because I want the NPCs to be able to do everything the player can. So let's just take a look inside and see what the NPC can do. Okay, just waiting for it to start up here. Now, because I'm recording and because I've got the anti-aliasing on, didn't know that could happen. The game is only running at 30 frames per second, maybe 40. But it normally runs a lot higher than this. But this looks completely disgusting without anti-aliasing. Just take the debug data off. Okay, you can see the NPC can jump. I've added this little gap thing, and you can jump across it. The actual hard part of that gap was actually making the player able to fall through the gap. But now the player can jump over the gap pretty easily if they're going fast, and the NPC can follow. Just get his attention here. You can see he can pretty much follow you anywhere. Now, since I built this game so many times before, I know the hardest part of it was the NPC movement. You would think it'd be the NPC logic, but it's actually the movement. Now, another little feature, if he's sprinting, he can actually do this little slide maneuver just like you can. He can also go into the caves when ducking, just like you, but he has trouble doing it while sprinting. You can see he'll follow you through the cave right to the other end. And this is just because I want the NPC to be able to go anywhere you can go. He'll even do the little slide thing inside there. Yeah, that's where the code starts to mess up a bit. We got to clean that up a little bit, but it's pretty good. And now the funny story about this is I've actually spent about a week coding the NPC to actually jump on top of these, only to realize that I could have actually used the off-link mesh to do it, which would have took about an hour. It doesn't look as good as the code I had wrote, but it works a lot better. And I suppose that's a lesson of game development right there. You can work on a system for hours or even weeks, and it can be completely useless sometimes. That's kind of the annoying part of developing a game, when that happens and you have to throw away all your work because it's useless or just doesn't fit the game. But it happens. Another thing on game development, you can see that the world is really gray and bland, and the characters don't have any textures. And it's not that I didn't have the textures for the characters or couldn't put more interesting characters. It's just that I built this game a bunch of times, and one thing I realized is it's easy to get distracted when you're looking at interesting things like the characters moving around or more interesting landscape, and it really prevents you from doing a lot of work. And so, you know, if there's any game developers out there, it's a tip that don't design your world too interesting in the beginning, because you really don't want to get distracted when you're writing code. But that's just a little tip that I learned from developing this game so many times. But let's turn the NPC sprint off and look at some of its other functions. And as you can see, I'm in the editor here. That's just because I want to show some of the other stuff that requires debugging. That's a little messed up. You can see he has a sprint just like you. I just turned it off. Now he's running normally. And he's not as fast. He can't keep up as much. And eventually I'll put a little sprint bar there, so the sprint actually uses up energy, so you can't just sprint continuously like that. But as you can see, he can still follow you. Now, let's get into some of his tracking methods. As you can see, that blue line right there shows when he can see you. Hold on a second. I just have to open up something. And we have this little box called eyes. Now it's important to note that these NPCs are going to be very unique. They're not going to be like NPCs in normal games. So the first step towards that, because I want to make them a lot more realistic. So the first step towards that is I've given them senses. So they'll have all 5 senses: taste, smell, sight, hearing, and feeling, and everything. The first one is his eyes. And you can see this this green square box. And this represents how far the NPC can see. Now you can see a little further, a little bit behind him. I'll probably make it a little more after the testing. But that's the potential area he can see you in. And that blue line right there is when he can physically see you. And you can see if I go behind a wall, it'll turn into a red line. I don't know if you can spot it because he's pretty fast. But that line will turn into a red line, meaning he can't physically see you. And when he can't physically see you, what he'll do is, see, he'll go to the last position you were at and search for you visually. Now that'll get more complex as I put in more senses. He'll be able to hear you. He'll walk around a bit and look for you. But right now you can see the beginning that of how he can see you more realistically. Where if he can visually see you, that line will be blue. If he can't, then that line will be red. And right now that's only an editor function. I might put it into the game as like a stealth mode or a stealth tactic where you can have an advantage. You can sense the enemy around you and sense what the enemy is doing. I don't know, but I'll definitely clean it up. I'll have to clean it up more if I do it like that. But that's just how the NPC tracking works. And if you go out of this green box completely, he'll have no idea where you are. And you can see the little debugging feature right here is telling me if you can see me or not. I think I might have broke it when I erased all the jump code or whatever. But, you know. But that's the beginning of the NPCs. I hope they'll be a lot more complex. And I'll add the senses in later when I add more of the game elements like smelling and tasting and hearing and stuff like that. But right now I just really want to work on the movement, because the movement has to be exact. The NPC has to be able to do anything the player can do, because these NPCs I want to be very human-like. And since this is a game mimicking a Game of Thrones type of intrigue thing, the NPCs are very important, because the NPCs have to be able to think and to a degree feel. And my goal here is to create an NPC that's so complex that it can actually commit suicide if it feels like it. Which is kind of hard to explain, but I built this so many times I know exactly how I want the NPCs. But they won't be like in normal games where they just stand around. Even they won't even be like Skyrim where they just move around and kind of talk to you. These NPCs will be fully able to think and plan. Like I'll give you a situation. If you wanted to, if you killed the NPC's like brother or something like that, the NPC isn't gonna go and attack you. It's gonna come up with the most effective plan to attack you. Now this might involve starting its own kingdom only to get revenge on you, getting a gang of people to come after you, stuff like that. Not just average behavior, because I want the game to be fully fleshed out with NPCs. But that's my goal, and this is the beginning. The NPC can use the parkour system to a certain degree, but I'm still working that out. And got these little movements here. You can see if he's not sprinting, he'll actually just walk under that. But this is the beginning, and I hope to see you in the next update, because this game is going to be awesome. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching.